692. I'm going to say that once more. 692. There were 692 mass shootings in the US last year. If that number doesn't scare you, you're from another planet, man. And not for everyone. We usually talk about business, data, growth, and stuff like that. But with what happened in Uvalde and other mass shootings happening every single day, we wanted to take a moment and reflect. We don't want to talk about gun laws, but want to give you a different perspective on what is happening and how we can protect our kids. I have 2 sons of my own, and I'm very, very concerned about their future. We had to reshoot this video so many times. I mean, getting through it without feeling despair was just impossible. This video is not about politics. It's about humanity. Uvalde cannot become just another statistic. We cannot become desensitized to this bullshit and simply accept mass shootings as normal. Innocent children died, and families will never be the same again. Shame on all of us that we let it get this far. Something needs to change now. First of all, let's be clear on what the problem is. Back when I was a student, we had this really cool professor that gave us a case study about HIV medication. During the case study, he asked, "What is the problem?" Man, we all jumped. Somebody said the pharma industry is too greedy and they're overpricing medicine. Somebody else says patent laws are creating monopoly. Another student is saying that taking medicine is billions of dollars if you want to take it to the market. So the companies need to be able to recoup that cost. I mean, we debated for a solid hour until the professor just stopped us and says, "You guys are all corporate monsters. The problem is people are dying." We can't forget that simple truth. The problem isn't school protection or violent video games or heavy metal bands or any of that crap. The problem is kids are dying. I want to take a moment here and talk about corruption. Transparency International estimates that over 50% of government-to-business contracts are corrupt. They define corruption as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. That basically means that if a public official has been trusted to protect the interests of their constituency and they use that power to further their own career or for money, then they're corrupt. Let that sink in for a moment. 50% of all government contracts are corrupt. That's trillions and trillions of taxpayer dollars. I mean, a lot of politicians will say that they didn't start off, corrupt. They wanted to really do good. A lot of them didn't get into the public sector for money or fame. They were really trying to change the world. Then they took a bit off the top here because if they didn't, they wouldn't get reelected. And if they don't get reelected, they can't continue doing good. My competitor is doing it. So if I don't, I can't continue doing good. It's not my fault. It's the system. The reason why they can get away with these bullshit justifications is that we, the voter base, allow them to. We have become desensitized to corruption, and that needs to change. The corruption issue can't be solved by legislation reform or by putting corrupt officials in prison. We should do that anyway, but it's not going to solve the problem. It's a cat and mouse game. It's like a virus or a computer virus, right? You have the virus and the antivirus. The hackers create a new virus, we create a new antivirus, and so on and so forth. But no matter how airtight you think the legislation is, or the process of procurements, or even campaign financing, public officials will always find a way. I lived in multiple different cities from around the world. I lived in Boston, I lived in Budapest, I lived in Madrid, and I want to share an experience that I had that stuck with me and changed my perspective on government-to-business relationships forever. This is the M2 highway in Hungary. It's one of the most important highways that runs through the entire European Union. It connects multiple countries and is considered one of the main veins of Europe. It's a big deal. With billions of dollars that's being spent on that highway, obviously it was a beacon for corruption. Initially, it was supposed to look like this, all the way through. A legit 4-lane highway that runs through the entire country. But with corruption eating up a huge part of the budget, the highway goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes to 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and so on. So we're driving on this highway. It's the middle of the night and it was raining like crazy. And we could barely see where we're going. In one of the sections where it goes from 4 to 2, we came across a memorial statue on the side of the road. Somebody had died. The reason why we saw it and it caught our attention was that in the middle of the night, in that pouring rain, the candles were lit. Somebody had lit the candles in the middle of nowhere on a rainy night. So we tracked down what happened. It was interesting. It was a family of 5. A mother, father, 6-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, and an infant son. They were driving to the supermarket for their weekly shopping. Because the highway goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes to 4 lanes to 2 lanes, an oncoming car swerved and hit the family head on. Everyone died except the 6-year-old daughter. The grandfather was the one lighting the candles. I mean, he told us that he would have committed suicide on that very day if not for his granddaughter that needed him. If you steal from someone, we call it robbery. If you steal from a company, we call it embezzlement. If you steal from the government, we call it corruption. We think of corruption as a victimless robbery from the government. We have to stop thinking that way. Corruption is murder. As a society, we have to outcast any public official that is corrupt, just like we do a murderer. If we want Columbine, Uvalde, and many others never to repeat, we must fight by changing how we think about what corruption is and hold corrupt public officials accountable for what they really are: murderers. Politicians that take campaign donations from the gun lobby and vote against the interests of their constituents are not just corrupt, they're murderers. And unless we change how we think about corruption as a society, we are doomed for history to repeat itself. Once again, this video was a little bit off topic, but our team here at NFE, we just couldn't stay quiet. Thanks for stopping by.